Hello, and welcome to today's webinar, Innovating with Collagen, a multi-mechanism approach to active nutrition brought to you by Rousselot in collaboration with Lonza Capsules and Health Ingredients. My name is Vena Patel, and I'm a senior journalist at Nutrition Insight, the leading B2B news platform covering the latest research and development in nutrition. And today we are joined by two experts who will explore how collagen science is shaping the future of active lifestyle products. First, we have Hanna Charron, who is the Associate Director of Global Product Management at Lonza. She will share her expertise on UC2, undenatured type 2 collagen, and how it fits into today's performance-driven routines. We also have joining her Florencia Moreno Torres, who is the Global Marketing Manager at Rousselot, who will highlight the science and trends behind Peptan and Colartix and how these ingredients can unlock new formulation opportunities. Together, they will present a multi-mechanism approach that combines key collagen types to support joint health, mobility, and recovery, backed by consumer insights and functional prototypes like the Joint Fuel Bar and Joint Matrix capsules. By the end of this session, you will walk away with actionable strategies for developing collagen-based products that align with consumer needs in active nutrition. Before we begin, a quick reminder. You can submit your questions at any time using the Q&A tool. We will address as many questions as we can after the presentation. And if we don't get to yours, we will follow up by email. This session will also be available on demand at nutritioninsight.com, and we will send you a link shortly after the event. With that, let's begin today's presentation from Hanna and Florencia. We will return shortly for the Q&A.
Thank you very much, Venia, and welcome everyone. So we would like to begin this presentation with a few key points on consumer insights and on trends behind active lifestyle, but also behind longevity, which is a very, very key word and one of the main drivers when we talk about active nutrition or active lifestyle. First, according to a Lonza survey, it was found that 6 in 10 global consumers take a long-term approach to health, hence the importance of longevity, and recognize the link between good mobility health and good overall health. Now, looking a little bit at the trends, specifically at the mega trends driving innovation and consumer needs globally at the moment, we have two key things. On one hand, we have aging population. We all know that birth rates are declining, and for the first time in human history, we are living for as long as we have lived before. But that doesn't always mean that we are living longer with a better quality of life. So, of course, people want to get 90, 80, even 100, but we want to still be mobile, we want to be independent, and so on. So in order to live in the best way possible, health and wellness also plays a key role, and that's also another mega trend. We live in the connected world. We all know that if we want to be healthier, we need to eat well, we need to do exercise, but there's also a lot of information of all sort of things we can do, and the truth is that sometimes we know what we have to do, but at the end we don't do them. So clearly there's still a lot of work around changing behaviors for the consumers. Now, taking these two mega trends into account is that we end up in the bucket, so to speak, of longevity. So as I mentioned before, longevity is living well for longer. And when we talk about longevity, we can think about it as an umbrella. Behind this or below this umbrella of longevity are key consumer concerns like aging with a good cognitive function, including ability to sleep well, to not be stressed, having gut and immune health, having muscle, bone, and joint health, so being able to move freely, having cellular health and function, metabolic health, and even skin health, elasticity, etc. So once again, behind this umbrella of longevity, there are different concerns that can be tackled with a good diet, with exercise, and this is also where supplements can play a key role. So focused on an active lifestyle, which are the keys to maintain and enhance it? Well, it's not rocket science, and also I just mentioned it. The first one, of course, is diet. We know we need to eat better. Sometimes we do it, sometimes not, but this is key. Then is exercise. We have to remain mobile for as long as possible and always adapt our level of physical activity to our own capabilities, our age, and so on. And last but not least, to have adequate supplementation. So in an ideal world, some people would say, hey, a healthy diet and exercise, it's all you need. And yeah, maybe they're right. But if we are able to optimize to get the best out of being healthy by having a little boost via supplements, why not go for that option? But this, of course, takes us to a bigger question. Which are the right supplements? How can we choose the right supplements? I'm pretty sure you can just go to your pharmacy or the supermarket and walk by the supplement aisle, and immediately it's very easy to feel overwhelmed by all the options of supplements that are out there. But what to choose? Where to go for? So this is when branded ingredients matter more than ever. It was found that 32% of consumers actually find supplements ineffective. And to be honest, we cannot blame this 1 in every 3 consumers, because if we look at history, we're going to see that very often, or it's not very uncommon, unfortunately, to find supplements using misleading claims, misleading advertisement that say they are going to do something that scientifically it's not even possible, physiologically, and so on. So unfortunately, that's a reality we are dealing with. But this is where choosing or going for a branded ingredient can really turn the tide and can really give that safety and that trust to the consumers. Still, from this survey, it was found that 58% of supplement consumers actually look for science and clinical studies first. This only makes sense, of course. You want to go for something that you can rely on, that is backed scientifically. 75% of consumers say that branded ingredients are influential in decision making. And 40% of consumers are very willing to pay more for branded ingredients. A reality behind reputable branded ingredients is that very often they invest a lot in science, in innovation, in research, and so on. And that's why sometimes the price is a little bit more premium. But I mean, that makes sense because, of course, you are paying to have this scientific research being done. So then you can be sure, or consumers can be are getting trusted ingredients. So pretty much when we talk about branded ingredients based on the consumer insights, we find that this equal to trust and proof. Now, going a little bit into the key consumer profiles for active nutrition. A few years ago, if we would talk about active nutrition, we would think, okay, this is a segment for the fitness people, for the gym bros, for people training for marathons. But the reality is that this consumer segment is increasing or has become very, very wide. So first we have, of course, the usual suspect, the everyday athletes. They want to optimize health and mobility for an active lifestyle. They are looking to prevent health issues, to improve their performance, to support their active lifestyle, and to maintain their flexibility and avoid any joint issues. Then we have the life balancer. I personally would put myself in this box, and maybe a lot of you as well. So this is people that, they want to stay engaged, strong, and mobile through life's transition. You maintain mobility and try to stay active as much as you can, like walking the dog, going to the gym here and there, but maybe it's not your everyday activity. We want to manage early signs of stiffness or discomfort, and it's all about supporting a holistic wellness. So maybe active lifestyle is not my main concern, but it's part of a wider aspect of just feeling good with myself. And last but not least, we have the vitality seeker. So this one would be maybe someone like, of course, the elderly population, the mothers, the grandmothers. This segment wants to live fully, moving freely with a focus on wellness and quality of life. They want to preserve independence as much as possible, manage cartilage and joint pain, because at this moment of life, of course, there has been some wear and tear, and support bone density and muscle function. So taking all this into account, Lonza and Rousselot, we have partnered up together to come up with some very interesting prototypes for this active segment, an active innovation. And before Hanna explains us a little bit more about these prototypes, I think it's very important to be very clear about where are we different and what makes us individually so special. So when we talk about UC2, we are talking about these branded ingredients by Lonza Capsules and Health Ingredients. It's an undenatured type 2 collagen. So here you can see very pretty the molecule of the collagen intact, has a very specific mechanism of action, which Hanna is going to present us later on. So that's UC2. Then we have Peptan, which is produced by Rousselot. So Peptan is a hydrolyzed collagen. So pretty much we took this molecule of collagen via enzymatic hydrolysis. We cut it in pieces, so to speak, and you can also find it as collagen peptides. It's a synonym, is the same. And then we also have, at Rousselot, we have Colartix. So this is a different kind of collagen ingredient. It's an hydrolyzed cartilage matrix, and it's pretty much a matrix made out of collagen peptides, mostly type 2 collagen and chondroitin sulfate. So the difference between the two of them is the dosage, and also that one is a bit more holistic than the other, but we'll get to that in due time. So with this, I would like to now introduce Hanna. So she's going to present us the prototypes that we worked on. Hanna?
So thank you, Florencia. So our first concept we want to briefly introduce to you, the joint fuel bar, contains a dual action collagen blend of UC2 undenatured type 2 collagen and Peptan collagen peptides, optimized to support natural collagen production, joint health, and containing clinically researched ingredients that promote flexibility, reduce discomfort, and aid in the recovery in an easy-to-go, convenient, and tasty format that's packed with those collagen benefits. Our second concept leverages a different dosage form, a capsule, and it's designed to be included in active adults' long-term joint health regimens. It includes another dual-action collagen blend of researched ingredients in UC2 collagen and Colartix that support joint comfort, mobility, and cartilage health. So, you heard us mention dual action a lot, so Flo and I are going to get into what we mean before we provide some consumer survey insights on these concepts. First, I'm going to dig into UC2 undenatured type 2 collagen for a minute. Now, I know this is a very busy slide with a lot of information, and I'm not going to go through all of the details, but I've included this slide to help represent the decades of research and dedication that have been invested in the UC2 ingredient since it was first conceptualized in the 90s. Over 20 years of research, we've built a product backed by scientific evidence, supported by 11 human clinical study publications, including 4 randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled clinical trials, as well as clinical research in companion animals like dogs and horses. For the sake of today's introduction, I'm only going to focus on our findings in 2002 around the mechanism of action and some really compelling evidence from a healthy human subjects mobility study that we published in 2022. So, UC2 collagen has a really unique mechanism of action. Taken orally, it works in the gut by triggering the immune system to target your body's natural process of building cartilage. Because of UC2 collagen's gentle processing method, UC2 collagen structure remains intact in a 3-dimensional triple helix shape. This shape preserves the bioactive regions called epitopes that can induce oral tolerance. And oral tolerance is essentially the ability of the epitopes to bind to active sites in the gut that are known as Peyer's patches to trigger that immune system to help support the body's natural cartilage repair process and promote the building of new joint cartilage. Animal studies suggest that the likely mechanism of action, or MOA, is the promotion of normal inflammatory responses while supporting cartilage growth. Undenatured type 2 collagen is the only dietary ingredient for joint health that works in this way to deliver joint health support, and this mechanism of action substantiates its very small but very effective dose of only 40 milligrams per day. So, now that we know exactly how UC2 collagen works, I want to dig into some of the clinically shown benefits from one particular study, that especially support active nutrition innovation. In one randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled study spanning 6 months, we had healthy, physically active adults with some knee joint discomfort due to physical activity on a 40 milligram or placebo regimen daily, with the objective really to determine the impact of UC2 collagen on joint flexibility and discomfort in these healthy, active subjects. Before I get into the findings, I want to get into why range of motion or flexibility is so critical for an active lifestyle. Range of motion, which includes flexibility and stretching, naturally declines with age. Go figure. According to the CDC and the Central Orthopedic Group, range of motion is critical to increased flexibility, to heightened mobility, to fewer injuries, to less discomfort, greater muscle strength, and increased blood flow. All of these benefits are requirements for physical activity, think of from running to squatting, which a healthy range of motion supports. So now we understand healthy range of motion, and I'll go back to the 2022 joint mobility study. In the 2022 joint mobility study, we found 3 compelling benefits that I want to share with you today. First, we found that UC2 collagen significantly increased knee range of motion 15 times more than placebo over 6 months. In a subgroup of participants greater than 35 years old, UC2 significantly increased range of motion as early as 8 weeks, suggesting a faster response time. Second, we found that UC2 significantly decreased joint discomfort when twisting, pivoting, walking downstairs, or on flat surfaces, and in ages 20 to 35 populations, and decreased post-physical activity joint discomfort duration by 30 minutes, suggesting quicker joint recovery. And last but not least, we found that people taking UC2 collagen walked the equivalent of 1/4 mile per day when compared to placebo. For men, the finding jumps to 1/2 mile per day. We believe the ability to do more before experiencing discomfort and an increased range of motion are some of the science-backed and compelling benefits that active nutrition supplement users are seeking when they're looking for supplements. So now I'll turn it over to Florencia to get into some of the science behind the powerhouse brands of Peptan and Colartix collagen ingredients.
Thank you very much, Hanna. Very interesting and very nice to hear all this information from UC2. I like to think when we talk about collagen ingredients that it's like a big family. So of course you have UC2, undenatured collagen, and then on the other side, as relatives, we have hydrolyzed collagen, we have hydrolyzed matrix, and so on. So let's dive into the Peptan science to begin. A few years ago, if you would ask nutritionists or doctors what did they think about taking collagen peptides, a lot of them would say that you might as well just eat any other kind of protein because anyway, at the end of the day, when you digest it, it was all going to be just amino acids, work as building blocks. So then end of the story, nothing special about them. But in later years, actually, since already 5 years ago, at Rousselot, we started to publish science showing actually the bioavailability of Peptan collagen peptides. So it's quite interesting what happens in here. We have our lady drinking a glass of water. So let's imagine in this glass of water, we have already dissolved a spoon of Peptan collagen peptides. Once it gets digested, it has been observed that 1 hour later in the bloodstream, collagen peptides or Peptan is then found as free amino acids, but also as anti-peptides. So the free amino acids indeed go through the bloodstream and work as building blocks for tissues, whereas the dipeptides and tripeptides, which are bioactive, work as bioactive messengers to exert benefits all over the body. And because these di and tripeptides, again, are going all over the body, this is why we can see and we have seen in clinical research that Peptan brings holistic benefits. So we have published data, published studies around, the classic benefits of collagen peptides like skin and hair beauty, healthy aging, active lifestyle overall, gut comfort. Newly research has shown very good effects on sleep quality, even in cognitive performance. But for the end of this presentation, we have also seen benefits in joint health, bone health and sports recovery. So in the following slide, right now you see it all white, but it's going to start becoming very, very busy in a few minutes. So first, I'm just going to walk you through very briefly through some of the science that we have published around bone, joint, and muscle health and recovery. But if you would like to learn more at the end of this presentation, you will be able to scan a QR code with an access to all of our science. So let's begin. We ran a study with a cohort of 94 elderly women, in this case, between 60 and 68 years old. So they were taking Peptan 8 grams a day for 6 months, and we compare it with a placebo group. In this case, it was found, as you can see in these images, that when measuring joint discomfort, in this case, the light blue, joint discomfort already significantly decreased by the 3rd month and kept on decreasing by 6 months compared to placebo. And when talking about joint function, we saw that there was a significant increase in joint function in the Peptan group compared to the placebo group. Also already recovery started to see after 3 months. Now we took a look as well as cartilage. In this case, we did an in vivo study with mice where we caused osteoarthritis in the mice, and then we had our control mouse, and then we also had a mouse that was taking a low dose of Peptan and a high dose of Peptan, and we also compared this with a healthy mouse. In this case, we looked at the cartilage area to see the cartilage degradation, and we also looked at the joint inflammation levels. In this case, we saw that actually the mouse that was taking a high dose of Peptan had pretty much the same level of cartilage degradation as a healthy mouse, although it had experienced osteoarthritis. And already the Peptan mouse that had taken a lower dosage of Peptan had by far a normalized cartilage area compared to the control mouse with osteoarthritis. When looking at joint inflammation, overall, we saw that the mouse that was taking a high dosage of Peptan actually shown less inflammation than a healthy mouse, whereas the one that was taking a low dose also showed pretty much the same level of inflammation as a healthy mouse. The one with osteoarthritis, as you can see in the gray bar, was quite high in comparison overall. So with this, the key takeaway is that Peptan prevents, as shown in this study, cartilage degradation and improves joint inflammation. Now, looking at bone, we also work with an in vivo study. In this case, we analyzed mice by onsetting as well osteoarthritis. So we have our placebo mouse, we have Peptan being taken before the osteoarthritis, and then also Peptan taken after the osteoarthritis onset. So then we can think of a scenario where somebody takes Peptan as prevention, or somebody takes Peptan after, let's say, the injury has happened, and then we compare this with a healthy mouse. So what was found in this case was that in the case of bone breakdown, both mice, the one that took Peptan before and after the injury, show less bone breakdown than even the healthy mouse, which is quite a very interesting result. When looking at bone density, we also observe already by week 12 how the models, the mice that were taking Peptan, showed an increase, both of them in bone density, even comparable, and at one time even higher than the healthy mouse. And then we also did research comparing taking Peptan with taking casein. So we compare a little bit with another protein to see what would be the effect on bone formation cells, compare it as well with not taking anything. And in these results, we already saw by day 7 that the mouse that had taken Peptan shown an increase in bone formation cells. So pretty much these findings show us that Peptan overall reduced bone loss, increases bone density, and stimulated bone formation. On the other hand, we also ran a study. In this case, this study was done across 23 active males. So what they were doing is that they started taking Peptan for 7 days before an exercise challenge. On the day of the exercise challenge, they took 10 grams of Peptan 1 hour before the challenge and 1 hour afterwards. We also had a placebo group. 48 hours later, we measured the levels of muscle soreness using a VAS score, and it was found that the group that took placebo actually had significantly more pain than the group that took Peptan. So then we went to take a look at the muscle power, and it was found that the group that took Peptan was able to perform better in their exercises compared to the placebo group. This makes sense because I'm pretty sure you have also experienced that if you go, let's say, to a Pilates class and then you are very sore, you don't want to do Pilates again the day after. So something similar like this happened. In this case, the group that took Peptan had less muscle soreness, so then they were able to train better for longer and stronger, so to speak. Additionally, when we are talking about Peptan, we are talking of higher dosages. So this also allows for Peptan to be included as a protein boost. And then we know that protein, of course, contributes to the growth and maintenance of muscle mass. As I was just mentioning, across these exercises, in some we were working with 8 grams daily of Peptan, some others were including 10 grams, some other can also include 5 grams, and so on. So overall, the dosage for Peptan goes from the 5 grams to 20 grams a day. So in a nutshell, when we talk about Peptan and the benefits observed in scientific studies for active lifestyle, we see benefits for joint health as reduction of joint discomfort, improvement of joint function, improvement in joint inflammation, and prevention of cartilage degradation. For bone health, we saw that it's very ideal for bone support. It increases bone formation cells and decreases bone breakdown cells, and it also increases bone density. And last but not least, specifically for sports recovery, it has been observed to support muscle health because it's a pure protein, of course, and it has also been observed clinically to boost recovery and performance after exercise. So on the other hand of this family of collagen, we have Colartix. As we mentioned before, Colartix is this hydrolyzed cartilage matrix. So it's a mix of mainly collagen type 2 and chondroitin sulfate. What we did in this case with Colartix, we did a real-world evidence study. We had 200 participants of both genders, across all ages, and across all kinds of physical activity. So people that would do gardening, walk the dog, or were really training for a marathon. We had 2 arms. 100 participants were going to be taking 1 gram of Colartix per day, and 100 participants 1 gram of placebo for 12 weeks. What was found was actually quite interesting. We were very, very happy with these results because, as you can see in here, when people started in this study, they were in a joint pain average of 5 and 4, so a mild joint discomfort area or section, so to speak. So they all started pretty much from the same part. And then we can clearly see how already by week 2, Colartix started to help to decrease this joint pain, to improve the comfort, whereas placebo pretty much remained the same. Something else that was quite interesting about this study as well is that the placebo group, we had a 20% dropout rate. Makes sense. They were not experiencing any change, so they just left. Whereas for Colartix, we only had a 3% dropout rate. So with this, we concluded that this supplementation with Colartix helps steadily to decrease joint discomfort across gender, age, and activity intensity. So this was a little bit the science, the mechanism of action. We already presented you the prototypes, but we did not stop there. We worked as well in getting some consumer insights. So Hanna, would you like to present the following section?
Thank you, Florencia. That's a really compelling offering. I'm so excited to share how our prototypes combining these powerhouse ingredients did in consumer survey. Here you can see some of our methodology for surveying the concepts we're sharing with you. We sought to assess the appeal, the understanding, and acceptance of these innovations with 1,000 potential end consumers ranging in ages between 18 and 75. So, reintroducing our joint fuel bar concept. This was designed with the active consumer in mind. Think busy professionals, weekend warriors, anyone looking for a functional food format that delivers real joint support. We positioned the bar as a convenient daily solution featuring 2 powerhouse ingredients, 40 milligrams of UC2 undenatured type 2 collagen and 10 grams of Peptan collagen peptides, in a format that feels like a snack but works like a supplement. The biggest consumer challenge here is finding effective joint health solutions that don't feel like medicine. Bars help reduce pill fatigue while fitting seamlessly into daily routines. Top drivers of interest for this prototype were mobility and flexibility benefits, followed closely by trust in science-backed ingredients and a strong overall preference for non-pill formats like gummies and bars. And from the data, it's clear that this format resonates. We saw an appeal score of 4.1 out of 5 and a purchase intent score of 4.01, which is strong considering this isn't even on the shelf yet. So there's very clear white space to tap into joint health through food, especially backed by the right ingredients. And our second concept, so our joint matrix capsule. This concept was built for the supplement consumer who wants joint support that's simple, familiar, and effective. It pairs 40 milligrams of undenatured type 2 collagen with 1 gram of Colartix hydrolyzed cartilage matrix, delivering a double collagen advantage in a daily capsule regimen. The simplicity of the format reinforces trust while maximizing ingredient synergy. The key challenge we're solving for here is the overload of complex or unproven joint solutions. Many consumers simply want something easy, with clinical backing they can feel confident in. And that also showed in the data. 23.7% were drawn to its long-term joint health potential, and we saw high trust in product quality and, again, those clinically backed ingredients. Performance was strong here too, with an appeal score of, again, 4.1 and a purchase intent a little bit higher at 4.04, showing that this concept resonates especially with consumers looking for clinically backed, low-effort routines. In short, Joint Matrix hits a sweet spot. It brings credibility and convenience together, delivering meaningful support in a way that's easy to adopt and easy to believe in. So now I'll turn it over to Florencia to close us out before the Q&A.
Thank you very much, Hanna. So we would like to finalize this webinar by inviting you to unlock innovation in active nutrition with collagen synergies, taking into account trusted ingredients of high reputation like UC2, Peptan, and Colartix, strongly backed by science. Additionally, as we mentioned before, we know we shared a lot of information today on our science, mechanism of action, and so on. So if you would like to find out more, you can just directly scan the QR code per ingredient as you see on your screen.
So thank you so much, Florencia and Hanna, for the fascinating insights into collagen's evolving role in active nutrition. I'm Venia from Nutrition Insight, and I'll now be moderating our Q&A session. And we've received some really great questions, so let's just dive right in. Our first question is, what is the dosage recommended for each ingredient?
Oh, well, I can take that one, Venia. Thank you. Well, in this case, for example, for UC2, we are talking about 40 milligrams per day. So it's really a very, very low dose. For Peptan, we're talking about from 5 to 10 grams. Sometimes, when it's even very extensive exercise, even 20 grams, but mostly it's between 5 and 10 grams. And Colartix is 1 gram a day. So as you can see, there's quite some variation in dosage, and this is why certain collagen ingredients are better for some formats or more suitable. So for example, UC2 or Colartix are ideal for a pill or a capsule, where in this case, Peptan blended with maybe also UC2, for example, is great more for a functional food and beverage. So yeah, a lot of options to choose from.
Yeah, great. Thanks so much for sharing. And I want to also ask, how long do I need to consume the capsule or bar to start seeing benefits in my mobility?
Well, I can't wait for something like this to get out on the shelf, but you would need to consume it for an ongoing time, right? This can really vary across individuals. Some will start to experience benefits faster than others. Overall, from week 3, improvements in mobility can already start to be seen, really driven by some of those peptide products. But then studies have shown that by month 2 or 3, consumers experience the best results and the sustained results.
And lastly, are these supplements something that I can take for a while, recover, and then stop?
I'll take this one, Hannah. Well, actually, as we were discussing before, if we think about these, mega trends of health and wellness, it's not something that you just do one moment, you feel better, and then you just move on with your life. So in this case, it's really something that has to become part of your daily routine, of your everyday lifestyle to sustain these benefits.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's session. Thank you to our speakers, Hanna and Florencia, and everyone who tuned in. We hope you leave inspired and informed, and we look forward to seeing you at future Nutrition Insight webinars. Goodbye for now.